Friends, in this video of iThought Wealth, I'm going to talk to you on the topic why this IPO boom was doomed to fail. In every IPO, there are two sides. One is the supply side and the other is the demand side. Understanding both sides is critical for you to arrive at good judgments. First, let us start with the supply side. Who are the people who have sold their shares in these IPOs? Is it companies getting the money straight into them, or is it existing shareholders? If you look at the recent history of IPOs, more money has gone out to existing shareholders. Those who already own shares in these companies have sold them to you, me, and the general public. So, money that has gone into companies to be deployed in the business for the future of the business is actually lower than the money which went to earlier investors. Existing investors have pocketed more money out of IPOs than the companies themselves. This is something unprecedented in the history of IPOs in our country. Why did this happen? This happened because we saw a boom in the stock market. We didn't have too many companies which had compelling stories. So the mid cap and the small cap spaces virtually saw a boom in good stories. Companies which were marketable became very, very valuable. In fact, they became more valuable than other companies where the story was not so great. So marketable ideas became scarce. The valuation of existing marketable ideas became astronomical, and there was insatiable appetite for more ideas. This was the perfect setting for an IPO boom. The first few companies which did these issues actually sold very little to retail shareholders. So in every issue, retail shareholders barely got 10% or at the extreme 15% of the total issue. So with a booming retail appetite, that appetite went unmet. Naturally, with every issue being successful, the next issue saw even more appetite. The next segment, which is the HNI segment, got unlimited money in the form of IPO financing. So if I have a few crores, I could get several crores more from my financier, which would be an NBFC, and I could apply in those IPOs. Even if the IPO was oversubscribed a lot, if I got whatever is a proportionate allotment, I was still able to make a profit without investing too much money on my own. So we saw an explosion of HNIs investing in IPO with leverage, with borrowed money. And with the success of every issue, the demand only went up. As this became a trend, more HNIs and more retail people were chasing less stocks. This was the perfect setting for investment bankers to push through as many offers for sale as possible. In some cases, you had a blended model too, where some money went into the company and a lot of money went into the pockets of existing shareholders. So existing shareholders were increasingly getting a royal exit from companies through the IPO route. Now look at the power equation. On the supply side, you have existing shareholders forming the majority of sellers in IPOs, and you had companies playing the minority part. Look at the other side. You had retail forming a very small minority part, and then you had the HNIs forming the next bigger part, which is again only slightly bigger than the retail segment. Both these segments are not fed with enough supply, and then you had the QIBs who formed the lion's share of IPOs. Now look at how this whole game was structured. The QIBs who got good allotments always had a better chance of making money after 30 days, because even after 30 days, investor appetite for these companies still went unmet. So even if they waited 30 days, they could still sell these IPO stocks at a significantly higher valuation to either HNI or retail. So, on the demand side, all three segments saw scarcity, because in the QIB segment, everybody wanted to get these allotments so that they could sell them after 30 days and prop up their NAVs. The HNIs wanted them because they could leverage and get shares, and the retail wanted them for the sheer power of participation, because here were millions of new people who had come in to the market in the last 2 years and who wanted to be a part of every new idea. This was the perfect setting to help the supply side sell. The supply side comprised those selling in offer for sale, those companies trying to raise money into them, and the investment bankers. Now, the greed of the first two was fueled by the third. Investment bankers were offering higher and higher valuations to companies and actually tacitly helping companies raise their valuations above normal levels into a zone which was uncharted. The competition among investment bankers is another reason why the supply side became greedier and greedier. How could the valuation of a company change within 60 days or 90 days? How can you have one round which you have done in March or April at X and then have an IPO at 2X? Isn't it unfair? And that too within a span of 6 months. But this is what the investment bankers promised companies, and this is exactly what companies fell for. So we started having number of loss-making companies doing a small round before the IPO and then coming out with an IPO at a much higher valuation. At some place, this had to fail, and it will fail where the valuation has no basis and you are not able to validate it even going 2-3 years into the future. That IPO happened to be Paytm. It's just chance that Paytm came in at the time when the market was in a mood to doubt and the market's appetite did not match the appetite of the selling investors of Paytm and the company itself. Now, today the markets are definitely in the middle of a cold shower, but will they return more adventurous in a few months? We have to wait and see. But this is a rude shock which I believe will spread into the other issues which are made by loss-making companies. So if a loss-making company has already raised money and it is still selling at a premium to its IPO price, I believe that investors will get back towards a more rational position, a stance which will make them rethink whether they should continue to own those companies or lighten. That alone can create enough selling in these company stocks which will moderate their valuations and bring them to a more sober zone. Clearly, we have seen excesses on both the supply side and the demand side. On both sides of the IPO game, we have seen people get carried away, and we have seen one side gaming the other side, and finally the side which got gamed finished the party of the side which gamed them. That in essence was bound to happen, and that is why I think that this IPO boom was clearly doomed to fail. What can happen now is the more sensible IPOs which are priced, giving investors an opportunity to see valuations justifiable enough in 2 or 3 years, those issues are likely to succeed. On the contrary, IPOs with no visibility of profits, with astronomical valuations, are bound to fail. Probably they will not bring them at all. I saw a WhatsApp forward which said that MobiKwik is going to defer its IPO. Clearly, such businesses will find it very difficult to justify valuations to investors because they already know what happened to Paytm. Here was an IPO boom which offered companies to be sensible, to be responsible and raise capital in a way in which those following them will also be able to do that. Here was an IPO boom which allowed investment bankers an opportunity to create a consistent platform for corporates to raise money whenever they wanted by being reasonable in valuing the businesses, by creating a balance between the interest of the sellers and the buyers, by creating a more even game and a playing field between the supply side and the demand side. The investment banking business failed miserably in this, and its own greed fueled the greed in the supply side and eventually brought this whole thing to this. The supply side, the selling shareholders were also extremely greedy, and I think that they should have moderated their expectations, because they should have thought about the whole equity culture and how this should have transformed into a sustainable trend. The fact that they created a bubble was the perfect setting for the IPO boom to fail. So, the supply side also played its part in this disaster. On the demand side, I believe that the Reserve Bank permitted lending into IPOs, which is a thing that was completely unnecessary. Another area where we could have done better on the demand side is reducing the allotment to QIBs and increasing the retail participation. This should have been done when clearly issues were seeing very good retail absorption. When you saw issues having very good retail participation, I feel that the reset between the QIB interest and the retail interest should have happened. Giving another 10 or 15% in issues should have been done, and QIB should have been brought to 40 or 50%, giving the rest of it to HNI and retail. If this reset had happened, companies would not have been able to game. The supply side would have been more sober, and this IPO boom was not doomed to fail in the way it has. All this happened by design, and I think the design was faulty. A faulty design will break exactly when no one expects it to, and that break will be a spectacular breakdown. That's exactly what happened to this IPO boom. It was doomed to fail. Thank you for watching this video.